Alright, so let's just cover quickly how to create a camera. This is actually a pretty important part of the assignment that you're working on, where you're taking the photograph of the building. I would say you need to do this really early in the project, because it's going to have an impact on how much you model, right? If you don't have your camera view figured out, you're going to end up probably modeling more than you need to. We just need to see the detail where the camera is showing us detail. So we set this up fairly early, and the way that we do that is we just go to the View tab, and in the Create panel, we'll see the little house icon there, 3D view, expand it, and you'll see the camera icon. So click on that. You'll see the little camera cursor following your mouse around here. Or sorry, the camera icon following your cursor around. And just click once to place it, and then you'll see this kind of 60-degree cone of vision appear. What's tracking with your cursor at the moment is going to be the far end, the back of this cone of vision. And this is going to have an impact on where your camera orbits, and also if you have your clip setting on, this would be the limit of what the camera saw. So it's not completely irrelevant where you make this second click, but for the most part you're just trying to orient it. You're just trying to point it in the right direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it just beyond my building to about this spot here. As soon as you make that click, it's going to take you into that view right away. And you'll see that it gives you sort of a cropping region that's usually kind of proportional to the size of your screen. You can adjust it like this. You can just pull the grips top and bottom. But remember that as you do this, you're kind of distorting the view. So you're taking what was an even sort of cone of vision with a target right down the middle. And if you don't do this exactly even, so let's say that you want to get a little bit more of this tree here. So you drag the grips over to the left. That might look good for this particular view, but what you're doing is you're distorting that cone of vision. So you can see here in this view how I've extended my view to the left, but I haven't changed the actual orientation. So that automatically happens if I'm in a camera view and I'm initially setting it up. It will, when I go to a floor plan view, it'll show that camera. If you need to see the camera, all you have to do is just right-click on the name of that view. So in my 3D view section of my browser here where it says, excuse me, 3D view 1, if you just right-click on that and select Show Camera, then you'll see it there. And this is a good way to make some large edits to the view, like if you needed to move it to the other side of the building, for example. But as I said, you can see here that I'm still kind of tracking this distortion here, where I've got way more showing to the left. That might not seem to be a problem at this point, but if I go into that view and I start making other edits, like maybe I use my Shift button and my Scroll button and start moving around, eventually I could get to the point where this is starting to look pretty distorted, and it might be hard to kind of get back to any sort of base point. So a better option, so there you can see it's starting to get kind of distorted. It might get hard after a while to get that to look exactly the way I want. So I'm just going to delete that. It will delete the view from the browser as well, which is what this warning is about. And again, I'll click on 3D view camera. First click to place it, second click to point it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this full navigation wheel. And if you just sort of drag your cursor around, it kind of follows a step behind, and then when you stop, it'll just kind of land right underneath. If you want to orbit, then you would just click on that part of the navigation wheel, hold it down, and then you'll see that you've got some orbiting tools. Now there's no distortion in this, and it keeps the orientation right in the middle of the cone of vision, which will kind of just make it behave a little bit more predictably whenever you want to make some edits. So I find that's a better way to go. You can also pan and zoom. The other settings to be aware of with regards to cameras are where your eye elevation is and then where your target elevation is. And I can access those values by going back to my level 1 floor plan view, and then I'm going to make the camera visible by right-clicking in the browser on the name of that camera view. So I'll select Show Camera, and now you can see that it's highlighted. It's got that blue selection color. So that means that the properties will show the properties for that camera view. And if I drag down, you can see under the camera section here, yeah, a little below it here, I've got an eye elevation and target elevation. Generally speaking, for architectural visualization, you want these to match because it keeps the vertical lines straight. They're parallel to each other, and they're vertical. They're straight up and down. So I'm going to select a new eye elevation value and a new target elevation value to match. And you'll see that when I do that, that this cone of vision, instead of having these lines which are sort of like converging on the side, then they'll just overlap and be perfectly parallel. So for eye elevation, I'll set this to say 2500, and I'll do the same with target elevation. Apply. Now I can see I'm back to that just kind of simple triangle for the cone of vision. And in my 3D view, now I'll see that those vertical lines are perfectly straight, parallel.